JB here. Hope everyone's doing an outstanding August 20th, 2024. About 34 minutes to the open. Talk really quick about the markets, names I'm looking at, trades I made, some updates, and go from there. But the S&P has its sights on 9 sessions in a row to the upside. Just a remarkable rally after uh, it seemed like the world was crashing. 1987 headlines, right? I keep saying this over and over. It's funny how so many times this has happened over the last 10 to 15 years where everybody thinks this is it. This is the start of a huge bear market correction. All those perma bears who've been spewing their narrative around the big market crash that's coming, they start getting excited, pounding their chest, saying, "I told you so, I told you so," and then we do this, right? So we'll see if we get 9 days in a row. Futures are kind of mixed. Well, they were slightly in the green. Now we're kind of flat. Asia markets a little mixed overnight. China stocks fell a little bit. China's going to not release liquidity data. I guess that's construed a little net negative, but we'll see if Baidu can reverse course. And yeah, we don't have much in the way of catalysts this week outside of Fed minutes tomorrow, 2 o'clock. Then we have Jackson Hole on Friday, 10 o'clock. Powell. Probably prepared remarks at 8:30. That would be my best guess, but we'll see how that all plays out. And then there's earnings. So there's still some retailers. Target reports earnings tomorrow morning. Considering we already had Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's was this morning. Uh, and then we had the retail sales data, which came in the best since April 2022. I don't see how Target's earnings can really do much for the market. Might do something for its stock. So we'll see how things play out. That 555 handle on the SPY was a huge wall on Friday, and we cut right through that like a hot knife through butter yesterday. It seems like there's a trend, or at least a pattern for how the market's been trading in the last couple sessions. We have the market opens slightly higher or higher, and then we have a pull into the 10:15, 10:30 time frame, and then it reverses, and then we bounce and we either chop around for the rest of the day or melt higher and close at highs. Yesterday we had that pattern, and then we had a spike at the end of the day, pushing right near 560 on the SPY. Just impressive. But it was yesterday. Everybody, markets might be a little tough here heading into Powell, but it's funny how everything works. But path to least resistance right now to me is upside, to the upside, blue sky breakout. Maybe we test all-time highs before the end of the week. But at the same token, you never know. So 555 would be support if things get dicey. And then even if we do get some chop, I've said this for the entire summer, or at least for the last 4 months. At some point, the small caps would love to see them continue to outperform, and maybe the market consolidates a little bit over the next couple sessions. And then last but not least, here's the VIX, and it was still trading. It was actually in the green for some of the day yesterday, despite the rally. It's still right at that 15 handle. Probably stays there until Friday, till we get some resolution. Nice little stat on Market Watch yesterday. I posted in the chat room, and also when I did my rant. The historical performances 5 days before into Jackson Hole and 5 days after, and not much really to write home about outside of the 2022 fiasco when inflation was uh, still a huge topic. I mean, it still is, and concerns about how long the Fed was going to be hiking rates, longer, higher for longer. All that kind of conversation was going on. Uh, did not work well for the markets, and we had a 7% pull for the 10-day time frame, 5 days before, 5 days after the Jackson Hole. We'll see how things all play out, but certainly going to be important for Powell to be able to continue to walk that tightrope of not being overly hawkish and not being overly dovish, because there were talks crazy 2 weeks ago that people talking about emergency rate cut. They didn't cut rates soon enough, and then we get that retail sales data. So anyway, all right. So individual names, SE. I'm not going to talk too much about that one. I keep saying that I think this trades possibly up near triple digit levels. So I'm not saying it happens overnight. It's probably going to take some time, but I can see it trading triple digits before the year is out. Locks the rest of my August 30s in yesterday for a little over 400%. It's not that I don't think it's going to trade 85, 90 before into next week, which it possibly could do. It just seemed like the premiums, the stock was up 4% yesterday, and the premiums were somewhat flat for most of the day. So didn't want to see that if we have a pull overnight or what have you, then those premiums will just get destroyed. So I locked those in, still have the September calls. If it finds some strength today, I might look to add some more strikes, possibly further out, maybe October's, to play for that move into the 90s and above. You look at the long-term chart on it, there's a gap fill at 85. Once that fills, I think it's off to the races. So, I mean, it's already been off to the races, but just kind of further adds to my conviction that it heads higher. Block, nice move over that. Once it breaks that 50-day moving average, happened in February, happened at the start of April, happened at the start of July, and it's happening right now. It's always good for 5 to 10 move to the upside at minimum. I think it trades past 70. Um, at some point, I look to lock some of my strikes in. Once I do that to cover costs, once I do that, I might look for some further strikes to play for a move over 72.50 or so. You also have the backstory of cryptocurrency. Square is going to disrupt that as well in regards to mining and other things that they're doing. So when I look at Block slash Square, I don't see them as just a transactional platform and a commerce platform. I look at them also on the crypto side. So when crypto and Bitcoin and all those other cryptocurrencies rally, usually bodes well for Block. So should provide some more tailwinds for them. VKTX, I try not to even talk about it because it seems like every time I talk about VKTX, it's like a jinx, right? Uh, but just started about 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. I don't know if there was a huge activity in the call side. There were some blocks that went through. I think there were October strikes or September strikes, and then it just set off a huge, not only huge option volume, but huge market volume. And you can see the candles after 2 o'clock on VKTX, as if there was some kind of rumor or some news that came out, which doesn't look like there was. Uh, $70. That's the threshold. That's when I short squeeze threshold, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what name you want to give it, but I think that's the key spot. If you can get over that 70 handle, I think that's when the shorts will really start to sweat, and then maybe they'll start to pack their short thesis in, and that's when I can see it really gain some upside. Which brings me to Turn. Huge option action on Turn yesterday, and I was trying to post the open interest. I didn't get a chance. I don't know if I posted a link in the chat room, but you look at the October 8th, no, September 8th, September 10s, October 750s, September 17 strikes, like 5,000 or 6,000 calls were added to the open interest. I have to go look at the exact data, and if you look at the data from last Friday, the total open interest on the turn calls for all the strikes was minimal, and that included the August strikes, which expired on Friday. So I have to look. It's like the open interest doubled or tripled just from yesterday. Of course, they have a binary event, which is going to, their oral GLP-1 data, which could be coming out in September. Finally got some of the turn strikes, and a lot of volume came in after I added those two, which helped with the premiums. I'm looking for October strikes too. So I don't, the spreads are tough. And also it's going to be a binary event. So when I'm looking at September, that has two factors, which is if they release data after the September 20 strike, that'll be a problem, right? Those calls will be they'll get destroyed on Thursday. Well, Friday would be the big day. September 20th, if they don't come out with data and you're holding those calls, premiums are going to get demolished. And then also, you have to worry if it's good data or bad data. So I put it in the watch list this morning. I think there's a couple scenarios, and if there's a thin line or decent data, I think it's a double. Maybe it gets to 15, 16. If it's above expectations and returns to weight loss and zero to little adverse effects, I think it trades into the 20s, if not higher. And then on the flip side, if the data is in line and there's severe adverse effects, probably trades down under 5 or around 5. If it's not in line, it's worse than expected, and there's adverse effects, probably trades right around there too. So those are the scenarios. And then if you look at the calls, those calls, September strikes, October strikes will be bidless. So it's a binary event. So the plan would be it rallies up, I can get some out to cover costs and ride the rest into those events. That's the kind of thought process there. I'm bullish on the event, but you have to look at some of the data and what's happened with some of these other drugs, GPCR. Adverse effects is this big it seems like the big factor now because there's so many companies out there looking to bring GLP-1 to market, and there's all the ones out there already. So that's why VKTX is best in class in all areas of GLP-1. But rants for other days. All right, so that's Turn. Baidu was looking great over its 50-day and over 90 handle yesterday, and then that China news overnight kind of pushed all the China ADRs down this morning. I think it reverses course. I was talking about on the rant yesterday. I'm probably not going to hold my strikes into earnings depending on where it is. So I'll probably look to cover some costs if I get that chance. If not, I'll wait till before the close Wednesday and close them out and then just revisit. I am kind of bullish the name, but I just don't want to rule out that there's some concern or what have you, and be in a position where I lose that trade. So that's kind of the plan right now for Baidu. Roku's back on the watch list, and I've been watching the Trade Desk TTD. It's a $50 billion company, trades 25 times revenues. and it's the ad business, right? It takes data and is able to make sure that the advertising that comes to a user is tailored to what might bring the best return on investment for folks who are paying for the ads, right? And similar, you look at Roku. Roku has all the data. That's the next data piece for advertisers, right? And that's one of the reasons I used to be big on Cardlytics, because Cardlytics had line of sight to every card, so over 50% of the card swipes in the US, meaning it knows the transaction, where people shop, their habits, and then how to tailor ads to support those habits and give a return on investment for the advertiser. Roku's building that, right? They have a huge data hoard of what users like, what they like to view, what maybe might give a return on investment on for advertisers on their platform. So to me, and then, people always probably don't look at Roku properly, in my opinion, in regards to its fundamentals, its growth, its value. But it only trades 2.5 times revenues, and they just reported a decent quarter. I, it started to bounce already off the 50s, so it's up here at $62. I think if it catches momentum, it's one of those names can really start to go, especially if it breaks over 66. Don't be surprised if I add more strikes there on Roku. Maybe some weeklies to play for a move to 65, and possibly some further strikes to get back into those. Uh, Palo Alto, I was surprised. They posted a strong quarter, a nice solid beat and raise, $500 million stock buyback, and then you look at the stock, and it's really not doing that well this morning. And you would think some of it would be based on the fiasco with CrowdStrike. And they also talked about acceleration in the back half. And then you have all these analysts reiterating and raising price targets on it. So I thought 365 gap fill and then up near 385, 390. The thing is, I mean, if you're into calls or puts, there's going to be a premium crush on them. The implied move was a heck of a lot higher than where it's going to open. So it opens an opportunity for possibly getting some spec calls. I'll be watching for possible bounce to 365 or so. I'll see if the risk reward looks pretty good and the premiums come out on the call side. That's that. Still watching Dell. I certainly want to get something into earnings. A nice reversal off the lows yesterday. I think it went down to 108, then bounced all the way into the green, then closed almost flat. And then last but not least is AMD, and kind of kicking myself a little bit. I was looking to get some strikes after another AI acquisition for them. And then it was gapping again this morning. I, I don't want to be in a spot. I was actually looking at the 160, but back when it was trading at 152 yesterday morning, or when a 150, yeah, it dropped 155. Where'd it go? No, it was one. I think it was 152 in the morning. It actually, and then then after the open, it breaks down to 148, and then I'm like, okay, I'll take it off my radar. And then sure enough, it bounces back in the green. So maybe I'll trade. I'm not sure. I'll probably just wait, but don't be surprised to see me add some calls there. And I think that's it, folks. We have 10 minutes, 20 minutes to the open. I'll be back on audio later. Let's have a great day. Rock and roll.